How's it going, vaqueros, and welcome to XDefiant. That's right, Gumi's going to be talking about XDefiant in today's video. We're going to go over the shotguns because that's what I do, and we're going to talk about the game in general because it's been in beta now for I think about a week, and I've been enjoying the hell out of it. It is a lot of fun, so we're going to go over my impressions of it, talk about each of the shotguns and how I would balance them and all that good stuff. So if that sounds good to you, go ahead and stick around because we're going to get right into it. To give a little brief synopsis of what XDefiant is in case you didn't know and you're seeing this for the first time, this is sort of the new quote-unquote COD killer, where it's basically a game that's a fast arena-style shooter, where it's basically akin to the old-school days of Call of Duty, where it feels almost like a Black Ops 4 game, but a little bit smoother in my opinion, and it kind of just feels like more classic COD than CODs nowadays tend to feel, at least in terms of the multiplayer aspect of things. This is an Ubisoft title, and it's been in development for a few years now, and it has a couple people on the team that used to work as devs on Call of Duty, and one of those is Mark Rubin, who's been very prominent on Twitter. He's been responding to tons and tons of tweets by anybody from 1 follower to 2 followers to 1,000 to 20,000 followers. It doesn't matter. He's going to respond to you. So that's really cool. If you have feedback or questions, go on Twitter and tag him. And the whole team, really, everybody I've seen that's been working on this game is very, very good about responding. And honestly, it's super impressive. And I love them because of that. It's so good to see because in Call of Duty's world, the communication can be a little bit few and far in between. So anyway, that's sort of the brief background about XDefiant. Now let's talk about the shotguns, because this is what a lot of people come to my channel for, is sort of the shotgun gameplay, the shotgun mechanics, and what shotguns are like as a whole. So in this game, we have 3, or at least in the beta build, we have 3 shotguns to choose from. We have the M870, which is sort of your run-of-the-mill pump action. Then we have the double barrel, which I think it's just called double barrel. It's basically just a generic double barrel. And then we have the AA12. I tried so hard not to say the Jack 12 just then, and yes, it is the AA12, and it is a fully automatic shotgun. The first shotgun I'm going to talk about is the M870, and this is unfortunately a very lackluster shotgun for a few different reasons. Now, if I had to compare it to a shotgun in COD that we've had recently, I would say this feels very much so like the Hauer from Black Ops Cold War, and it's a little concerning because the Hauer is actually a secondary, but this sort of feels like a secondary. It's kind of weird. Like, it's strong, it's got some good one-shot kill potential, but it's not super far. Really the only issue I'm having with this shotgun is it's super inconsistent, because I'm okay with a short one-shot kill range, I'm okay with having a kind of crappy 2-shot range, as long as I can make it work with the movement, and in this game you have great movement, trust me, it's really, really fun. But unfortunately, I just had so many instances with this gun where I was getting just barrel stuffing hit markers even though I was center mass, a lot of inconsistent one-shots that would think, hey, that should be a one-shot kill, and then I'd end up getting 3-shot kills on them or just dying. A lot of weird instances like that, and there's a few reasons that might be happening. One, the glaring issue is probably the netcode. This is probably the biggest issue I've seen people complain about in the game, is that the servers just, it's really bad. In other words, you'll probably be around cover 5 feet away from where you were getting shot, and then all of a sudden you will just die because on their screen it looks like you were still out in the open. You were going to have a ton of instances like that, and with a gun like the M870 where you have to play cat and mouse with this sort of gun, it's really difficult to manage well because you'll just kind of get one shot off and then you'll end up dying even though you're around cover. So it's pretty frustrating. Now, I have a feeling when the netcode improves, when the full game launches, this gun might be a little bit better because I can see why it would be useful. It honestly feels like the Hauer, but it also kind of feels more like the Infinite Warfare shotguns where they didn't have super long range one-shot kills, but because of the movement, you could very much so finagle it, you could make it work, and that's kind of what this feels like, and honestly, I'm okay with it, and a lot of the maps too tend to lend themselves to close quarter engagement, so I think that once we get our hands on the actual full game, this gun will probably be okay. I don't really think it needs any tuning except for maybe a little bit more damage and consistency up close. I would say to help with the consistency, there's the netcode, but also maybe crank up the damage just a slight bit. Now, there is a barrel that helps increase your damage by a little bit, and I did notice that was probably the most consistent way to run the shotgun, so if you want the most consistent build, just use that barrel. I think it's called the heavy barrel, I can't remember exactly, and there's a few different ways to kit it, but mainly you just want to kit it out for sprint to fire speed, mainly, and movement speed, and then of course have that damage barrel and get a little bit of range. I also think it'd be really great to see some different ammunition types to get some variety, because right now we just have buckshot, and a lot of the attachments per shotgun are basically cut and paste. They're the same thing between each one, but I would love to see slugs. I was kind of disappointed we didn't see that. I think I remember seeing it in the beta before this one. I'm not entirely sure if I'm crazy, but I feel like they're going to be in the game because most games nowadays have slug shotguns, but I think that would be very cool, and maybe some other different ammunition types. I know there's one faction that has Dragon's Breath rounds or rather just incendiary rounds, not really dragon's breath. So you can use that with this shotgun. I don't remember the faction. I didn't get to use it, so I can't tell you if it's very good, but I heard it's really not that good, so I wouldn't really be too concerned about it. Just kit this thing out for that damage barrel, and then use some range attachments like one of the barrel extenders in the muzzle category, and then kit it out for sprint to fire speed. Now for the next shotgun, I'm going to talk about the AA-12. This is the full auto shotgun of the game, and this one I feel like is a step up from the M870 because it's at least consistent, which is what the other one really isn't, the M870, and this one is a full auto. And honestly, it feels like they did a good job in balancing this one because it feels strong up close, but out past that like initial max damage range, it really doesn't carry damage very well, and it takes a little bit more shots to kill, so it's not super oppressive, and you're probably going to feel like it's a pea shooter. I did it first, and really, it does feel pretty weak at range, and I'm okay with that because this shotgun doesn't need to be that strong. This needs to be one where you can really close that gap and just spam the hell out of it and get those kills super easily. If it was too strong at range, it's going to be really annoying to die to, and honestly, it feels pretty good. It honestly kind of reminds me of the Street Sweeper with the reinforced heavy barrel with that extra fire rate. That's kind of what this feels like, and you can kit this thing out for a better fire rate as well. There's, I think, a few attachments to help boost it up to about 326 RPM if I remember correctly, and that's how I played with it, and it actually felt pretty good. But again, you really don't want to challenge people at range with this. You can, but you better be hoping they don't hit their shots because you're probably going to die. The time to kill is actually pretty bad at range. So really get close and as close as you can with this thing and just spam the hell out of it, and it can be fun. And I would also rock a red dot sight as that really helps the awkward iron sights this thing has and how bouncy it can be. And just use the extended magazine. Don't try to work with any of the others. I really don't think it's worth it. You're better off just having that 20 round mag. It's totally worth it, and you burn through ammo pretty quick. So I tried making that 8 round fast mag work, and it just didn't work. I would either kill one person, have 1 shot left, or have not enough shots to kill someone because I challenged them too far. I just say don't worry about it and just use the 20 round mag. And now let's talk about my favorite shotgun of the 3 we have, which is the double barrel. This thing is a monster, and I love using this thing because it feels very rewarding and very high risk, high reward, but it's not like kind of crappy and inconsistent like the M870. This thing feels like it's very consistent and has a pretty damn good 1-shot kill range, along with a even better 2-shot kill range. This is easily my favorite shotgun of the bunch, and it's definitely the best. If everyone I've talked to, they seem to enjoy the double barrel the most, and I can see why, because this thing feels great, and it's got that high risk, high reward shotgun gameplay I want without feeling super inconsistent like the M870 or just kind of like a pea shooter like the AA-12. This thing is perfectly balanced, and I'm super happy about it. Now, there are instances with this gun and with the other shotguns, of course, that you might get some undeserved hit markers or kind of wonky deaths where you feel like you should have got a 1 or 2 shot kill, but you didn't, and then you end up dying. And I think that's largely attributed to the netcode, which the devs have even admitted is not really great currently, and it is a beta, so we can forgive that. It's no big deal, really, and it'll probably be way better at launch. But that's probably one of the reasons that this gun can get you some hit markers, but it's not nearly as bad as the other 2 shotguns, I promise you. And also, in this game, aim assist is not nearly as strong, so your aim is going to feel a little bit weird at first, and it's going to feel a little bit difficult to control, simply because if you're playing Call of Duty, that aim assist is very strong, and if you're used to that, it's going to take an adjustment period to get from that to this game, because it's not nearly as strong, like I said, so that also might determine how well you hit your shots at first. But just stick with it, and if you want to use a good shotgun in this beta while we still have limited time with it, I would say just go for the double barrel. Don't really even bother with the M870. I would just say play with the double barrel and enjoy it. I don't really have any complaints about it balance-wise. I feel like it's done perfectly well, where it's, again, not super oppressive, there's that word again, but it has such a good 1-shot kill range for the movement you have in this game. I think it's totally worth it. Overall, the shotguns in this game, I think they're all pretty good, except for maybe the M870, which needs a little bit of a damage buff up close, a little bit more consistency, I would say. That's really it. These shotguns are pretty good. This feels very similar to Infinite Warfare shotguns, where again, you don't have super crazy range, but you have great movement and great fluidity in your movement that really helps you narrow that gap and get close to your enemies. And these maps also, they really lend itself to good shotgun close quarter engagements, at least in some game modes. I played a lot of domination, and they were okay in that, but there were a lot of instances too where I would get caught with my pants down, but that's just the way it is with a shotgun, so be mindful of that. Overall, I'm really enjoying this game. It has such great movement. It feels like a better version of Black Ops 4, and the shotguns are fun, and the gunplay does feel good. It doesn't feel as punchy as Call of Duty, but that's okay. It feels a little bit more arcadey like the classic CODs did, and I'm okay with that. And honestly, that's a good sign where I feel like I'm kind of craving the game, where I want to go back and play with it more and just get my hands on that double barrel again. I mean, honestly, it felt really good. So that's going to do it for this video, guys. There you have it, my first XDefiant video, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know down below in the comments, what do you think of this game? What do you think of the shotguns in the game if you've had a chance to play it? And what do you think your favorite shotgun is of the 3 we have access to? And with all that being said, guys, I will see you in the next video.